Yeah. Let's go. Episode 105. Solo Sode. Just fucking me and the stew. Let's get it. What up, Decker? Where you at? Let's go, brother.
Thank you for tuning in. I know your time is valuable. There's thousands of other podcasts that you could have settled for, but now you're just vibing with two goofy dudes from Wisconsin who like to discuss their problems and figure out ways to solve them, and challenge the listeners to get up out of their comfort zone. Try some shit they ain't done before. This is Hold Us Accountable. Yeah, this is Hold Us Accountable. Yeah, this is Hold Us Accountable. This is Hold Us Accountable. This is Hold Us Accountable. Hold Us Accountable, yeah. Hold Us Accountable.
Yeah. All right. What up? Episode 105. Holy shit. It's just me and the stew. Maximilian coming at you for episode 105. Shamo couldn't make it. Didn't have a car, I guess. Grocery getter is down for the count, it sounds like. And Carl made dinner plans on the night we record. So it's just me. Unfortunately for all of you, unlucky for all of you, whatever the fuck I was trying to say there. No idea. But, you know. Stop. No, it wasn't that funny. Jeez. Oh my gosh. But hopefully we have a fun episode. Hopefully we get a couple laughs in today. It's even though it's solo, I'm not quite sure how this will go. This will be interesting. I haven't done a solo episode technically since our first episode, which was just me recording information about the podcast while I was working. You could hear, you know, me typing away at my keyboard in the background. It was really kind of, I know, the keyboard was crazy. You could just hear it back there while I was typing. It was kind of ridiculous. So that was the last time I did a solo episode. Was technically our first episode. We recorded a couple episodes before that, but we didn't put them out. We put them out, then deleted them because we were extremely drunk for the first two episodes. Nothing much has changed, though, other than we're a little bit more buttoned up, obviously, except for today. Kind of all over the place, figuring this shit out. Hope Twitch is working. If you're watching live on Twitch, appreciate it. Oh, 0 views, so definitely nobody watching on Twitch right now, but that's okay. That's okay. I don't say that to for any sympathy. I say because it's fun. I think it's funny, puts me at ease a little bit. I don't have to. I'm not like feeling like someone's watching me the whole time. I can just kind of record the episode like I normally would. So we'll see how it goes. Record. What am I talking about? Jeez, I am all over the place trying to figure out my soundboard and everything else that I got going up. Doing a little bit too much. We'll figure it out. We'll settle in to the solo episode, and I hope nobody listens because this is probably going to be embarrassing. But, you know, it is what it is, and we're just going to fucking do it. So let's see. We'll get her going. Who am I kidding? I've always wanted to do this. I've wanted to do a solo this whole time. Nah, I haven't. It's you think you want to, I guess, until you get in the fucking situation, and now I'm like, Jesus, where are my buddies? I wish my buddies were here with me, because I am just a bumbling idiot. But that's okay. That's okay. Again, I don't say that for sympathy. I say that just because it's kind of fucking true. That's all right. That's okay. So, if you are listening, probably on a podcast or on YouTube, thank you. Thank you for listening. If you are one of our tens and tens of viewers, I don't even know if tens is, probably fives and fives of viewers, listeners, thank you. We appreciate you listening and hanging out with us and just kind of, you know, maybe throwing this as a little routine, something part of your week. We really appreciate it. And honestly, I'm just saying that more for me because I'm going to go back and edit this, and I will listen to this and probably be the only one that listens to me saying, hey, thanks for listening. I appreciate that. Man, jeez, all the laughs today. Golly. This is something I'm not used to. So what we like to do here on Holds Accountable, finally get to this. What we like to do here on Holds Accountable, we like to learn a new skill, try a new project, try a new challenge. Something that'll take, we try to limit it to about a month's time. If it takes longer than a month, we'll give it longer than a month, but we'd like to give ourselves at least a month to try to learn a new skill, try out a new hobby, or, just challenge ourselves to something that we wanted to challenge ourselves with. For example, like I did the carnivore diet about a year and a half ago, so challenge myself to that. It's not really a skill or a project, but like a personal challenge, and that sucked. That sucked ass. That was probably about episode, 18, 19, 16, 17, around there, because I think that was right around when we had Decker on. I was kind of right in the middle of doing the carnivore challenge. So just eating meat, animal products, it was not fun, but did that. And then we made this table that I'm sitting at right here. We did a woodworking challenge, or for me it was a skill. For Carl, he was kind of teaching me some of the easier, the beginner aspects of woodworking. Just sanding, putting some epoxy down, all that shit. We did that. The very first challenge or skill we tried to learn, Carl and I did, was jiu-jitsu. Did that for about a month. And threw my shoulder out. I broke my pinky also. Man, that was fun though. It was something that Carl and I talked about. At the beginning of the show, it was like, what's something that we like want to do to get out of the show, and it was like we'd like to do jiu-jitsu, boxing, something, physical that'll kind of, push ourselves. Carl played football all through high school, so he liked the kind of the in your face coaching you got kind of from jiu-jitsu. There's a guy kind of down, in your face, like telling you what you're doing wrong, how to correct it. And so, that was cool. Had a lot of fun doing that. I think Carl learned a little guitar. Shamo did guitar. We did some writing things. I did stand-up comedy for the first time. Seamus did stand-up comedy for the first time. I continued to do it. I'm for a couple months after, and hopefully I can get back into it a little bit, because it was fun. It was a good time. Just something, another way to challenge yourself, and it was an art form that you get to see kind of on the spot how you did. If you wrote something that was funny, you're gonna get laughs. If not, you get no laughs, and you gotta try again. So I really like that, and something I've wanted to keep trying at, and I did for a little bit, but now currently what I'm doing is an audio project. I'm trying to take some recordings that me and my grandfather did about kind of the early history of the Green Bay Packers and his just in-depth knowledge of that, and taking those recordings that me and him did, and converting, just kind of putting it all together. There was 4 separate recordings, so putting it all into just kind of one complete audio project is my goal for the month. Well, been way longer than a month, but it's been my challenge going so far, and I'll give a little bit of updates on that, because it's been tough. Honestly, been tough for me, but a lot going on with that, and maybe we'll get into that later. I don't know how much I'm going to get into today with it being the solo episode. It's really strange, can't lie. Last time when I did it, I was working. Like I said, I was working, and it was just kind of something to, just a little like buffer episode to be like, all right, if you're gonna this is what we're about on Hold Us Accountable. Is like 20 minutes long, just really basic. No intro song, no nothing. I mean, it was like it was basically just recording thoughts. It was pretty bad, but again, it's kind of part of the learning process. Anytime you learn something new, you probably will fail a little bit to start, and or not necessarily even fail, but just not produce or have the right outcome happen right away. But it's learning from that and then going, all right, this is what I did, this is how cringy it was, how can I be better, or maybe I should just never do this again, or I really, really love that and I want to keep going. So it's kind of all part of it is the way I'm looking at it, even though, man, I know we could go back and probably watch some episodes and just be like, what were we doing? I mean, even just 5 episodes ago, we could probably go back and look and just be like, what were we doing? What were we talking? What? And just completely be embarrassed by what we put out there. But that's, again, also part of the fun of it too, you know, part of the fun of trying something new and just in being all enjoying the process and not kind of letting it bog you down too much, because in my experiences so far with this podcast and the things we've tried, if you let, you know, a couple little failures bog you down, you'll never keep going. You may never even get to your end goal, but if you don't even try to get to an end goal, I mean, it'll feel like you never did it at all. So that's been our experience with it so far. And yeah, so I don't even know tangent what I just went on there, but so we what we've been doing now, I was doing the audio project, Carl's doing welding. I'm not sure how much welding he's been able to do, or if he's really even trying. I'm not sure. He's not going to listen to this, so I don't really care too much. Well, he might. I don't know, Carl. I didn't mean that to be a slight. I'm just, we haven't really talked about it a lot in the past few weeks. I guess it's your boss's welding machine that you need, and he hasn't been around, so there's no welding machine, so it's like, I don't know how much welding you're actually doing. I mean, it's just kind of how it is. Shamo is doing fitness. I same kind of thing there. I don't know how much fitness he was doing, but you know, we all had our things. You know, I wasn't touching my audio project I haven't touched it for the past, you know, 2-3 weeks. So I'm not saying that out of negativity at all. It's just kind of what it is for all of us. And you know, because this is all fun for us too. This isn't something that we take, you know, super seriously, and if we fail, we're gonna, you know, really get down on someone or be mad or whatever. You know, this is just fun, something for us to push ourselves, to get out of our comfort zones, to try these things that we've always wanted to try, but have never had the time or would make excuses for not trying them. And so this is for us to really push ourselves. And if we don't, you know, do what we said we were going to do, then we got to come on the show and talk about it and be like, and kind of laugh and be like, I didn't do it. And, you know, we try to encourage each other along the way. We try to, you know, make sure that, you know, if someone says like, no, you guys need to help me do this. Like we do try to push people, to push ourselves even more that way. Maybe, you know, shooting out texts, you know, be like, hey man, get this done. You said you wanted to do this, get it done. But if we're all just kind of in it for the fun of it, and we're just, I really want to do this, you know, we'll encourage each other. But at the end of the day, if you know, Shamo, myself, Carl, we don't meet our challenge, then that's on us. Like, we feel shitty about it. Like, we all feel pretty bad about not really doing anything that we said we were going to be doing. But we've all also had a lot of stuff going on with life too, and that's a part of it. And that's, you know, reason why we're doing this is to hold ourselves accountable. Come on the show and be like, hey, what's going on in your life that maybe you haven't been able to do the things you said you wanted to do, and let's talk about it. Maybe I'll say, you know, why I haven't been able to work on my audio project, and Carl will be like, well, why don't you try doing it like this? And it'll be like, oh yeah, I'll wake up a little bit. I'll try waking up earlier and working on it, or what, you know. And you know, that's a kind of a simple example, and maybe not the best one, but that's kind of what the point of the show is to not pressure people into doing this, but just help them. Like, all right, you said you wanted to do this, and then let's kind of do it. And if you come on and be like, dude, I've been moving, I've been trying to help my mom out with this, or my dad with this, or I've been, you know, meeting my sister, you know, been doing more stuff with my girl, you know, that's all part of holding each other accountable, and a part of learning a new skill or taking on a new challenge it's incorporating that with your own life. And it doesn't always go smooth. It's not always easy. And you can either kind of let the unsmoothness, let the uneasiness, take over completely, and you just don't get anything done. And that's happened to all of us. Every single one of us on the show has had a point where we've had just too much going on, and we've let, maybe the challenge that we've set ourselves on the show, we've kind of let that go to the wayside. And, the shows hold us accountable, and we do hold each other accountable, but we also have nuanced conversations about holding ourselves accountable. And, if you take it too seriously sometimes, it's going to maybe have a negative effect on your mental health. And you really do have to consider everything going on in someone's life before we can say, like, oh, Max, you haven't worked on your audio project, you're doing a bad job. Carl, you haven't done any welding, you're doing a bad job. Shamo, you haven't done this, you're doing a bad job. Whatever it is. And that's when we like to come on the show and talk about it. It's all these skills, hobbies, projects, things that we want to do are so ingrained in our lives also that's really the point of the show, is to be able to get together and just kind of talk about life, honestly, and joke around and laugh. Like, this is supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be comedic. But sometimes we get serious. We talk about mental health. We talk about how, maybe some tough things that are happening in our life and what's going on and how they're affecting us. And, we talk about job situations. We talk about all that. But at the end of the day, we're just trying to enjoy life. Like, honestly, we're just trying to get through it, because there's so much shit going on that we can either choose to put our heads in the sand and say the world is so crazy and fucked up, we should do nothing, we should just sit at home, be thankful that we have a roof over our head, and keep our faces in our phones and post social justice posts and feel good about ourselves. Or we can say, yeah, the world's fucked up and there's a lot of crazy shit going on, and who knows, tomorrow the crazy shit could happen right here at our doorstep. So right now, let's go and try to enjoy life as much as we can. And to enjoy life as much as we can, we have goals and aspirations and things we want to do. Let's try to do them. Let's not be scared. Let's not think we can't do them and then we don't. Because that does happen 90% of the time for us on the show, is that we say we're going to do something and then we don't do it. And usually we can come back on and say why we have or haven't done that. Sometimes we don't do a good job. Sometimes we just completely I think we've talked about trash cleanup, park trash cleanup for the past, 2-3 months now. We've mentioned it a couple times, and we just haven't even, it just doesn't get brought up really. And so we fail. We don't do a good job that way. But then when we do, and you get that 10% of the time, it's great. It's kind of it really makes you feel like, all right, I tried this thing, I did it, and now I can either keep going with it, or I can try something new that I've said I wanted to try, doing stand-up comedy. That was something, as a kid, I always just enjoyed watching it. But I always thought bucket list thing would be to try that. I never thought I would do it, almost 10 times and be comfortable, not comfortable, but be okay signing up and try, okay having the mindset to try that multiple times, okay having the mindset after just completely failing to go and try again. That's something that honestly I never really thought I would do, and then just kind of getting on here and being with the buddies and talking about shit, and just it's okay to fail and pick yourself back up, and not, I've always been embarrassed by the failure instead of seeking the reward of success, right? Like the embarrassment of failure always scared me more than the thrill and the reward of success. So like this is just kind of what's helping that, in a very long-winded rant about what Holds Accountable in the show is, and that's kind of what it means to me. I'm not sure exactly what it means to Carl or Shamo, but this is something that I thought about before the quarantine happened. Before quarantine, it was something that, just listening to so many different podcasts, and like every podcast kind of has a theme, and every podcast has, you know, something that, you know, a lot of times love comedic comedies podcast, and a lot of times the theme is just comedy, right? And that's cool. And then sometimes those comedians will have like things they're doing or whatever, or then there's podcasts that's strictly dedicated towards you know, brewing beer or whatever it is, you know, plant gardening, all that shit. And it's like, well, why can't we try a little bit of all of it? Why do we have to do one thing? Let's like try it all. So, or whatever we want to try, not try it all. That would be crazy. Try the things that we want to try. So that's what we're doing. That's what the show is all about. Ooh, we're gonna get this show kicked off big time with it. Pick y'all, episode 105, Beer of the Week. Let's do it! Yeah! I do love it.
Beer is good. Put it in my belly.
Yeah!
Beer of the week. I love beer. Beer of the week. Beer of the week. Beer of the week. Yeah! Beer of the week. Beer of the week.
Yeah! All right. Shout out Dougie Heim for helping us out with that Beer of the Week song. Hell of a song. All right. Hell of something. I don't know what it is. But, all right. So we're doing just kind of fridge grabs. We've got a bunch of random beers in the fridge. I didn't go out and buy one specifically, so every time I grab a new one, we'll talk about the beer and the brewery, because I don't have a lot planned for the show. Solo show, so it's going to be a lot about beer and Packer talk. We'll get into that a little bit later. We might have a joke mixed in, you know, try to keep it fun, light. I don't know. So, this week's Beer of the Week, episode 105, said that about 700 times. We are drinking Bridge Up Brewing Company's Escarpment Citra Pale Ale. All right. I don't believe we've had Bridge Up Brewing Company before. This was a beer I had gotten for... or we had gotten just in general for the 100th episode. We all got 6 packs of different beers that we'd be trying, and just kind of throughout the show try a new beer and talk about it. So kind of along the same lines with this one here. We're talking about so this is one of the beers that got left behind, one of the fallen soldiers that didn't get picked up, didn't get drank on episode 100. So here we are. We're drinking it on episode 105. Bridge Up Brewing. I've never heard of this brewery. Let's see. Citra Pale Ale. Interesting. It's 5.25% ABV. This is not official, but I saw it on a different website. The IBUs on this son of a bitch are 60. So we got a hoppy ass motherfucker in the stew here tonight. We're gonna give it a shot here. Then we'll talk a little bit about Bridge Up Brewing. Huh? Let's see how she tastes. Huh? Ooh, that's very, very good. I'm not quite sure why it's 60 IBUs. We're gonna have a little bit of tunes going on in the background too. Yeah, I kind of like that feel, especially for solo. You might need a little something in the ears. Flowing, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yeah, so get the laugh track booming. All right, about Bridge Up Brewing. Bridge Up Brewing Company, a small batch, ego-free, craft brewery from the people of Door County. If you're from Door County, you're not ego-free, right? You cannot put we're from Door County and ego-free in the same sentence. Okay? I've lived in Wisconsin too fucking long, people. You can't pull these tricks on us, all right? So they're ego-free people from Door County, and they focus on brewing varied, input-driven, ever-changing beer styles with appealing flavor profiles that are as unique, fun, and memorable as Door County itself. Folks, that's all one sentence. You cannot be ego-free if you have a paragraph as one sentence. I mean, there's more commas in this paragraph than Aaron Rodgers' paycheck from the New York Jets. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. Let me read this again. I'll read it just one. I'm not even going to do any breaks this time. Bridge Up Brewing Company. Small batch, ego-free, craft brewery for the people of Door County that focuses on brewing varied, input-driven, ever-changing beer styles with appealing flavor profiles that are as unique, fun, and memorable as Door County itself. Whoa! You can't do that. That's ridiculous. Bridge Up Brewing gives back. Bridge Up has donated to local charities to date $2,365. Hey, good job. They really forked over that dough. Man, when was this place established? Hopefully that'll come up a little later. Okay, see, another problem with people's websites and their bios. So I'm reading everything that is on this webpage. And about the brewing company. I go to about. And this is what I read. I read you that first long-ass paragraph sentence. And then Bridge Up, Brewing gives back. Right? They talk about how they give back, how they've donated. No names ever. Anything. No names. And then it just goes to about Trent and the launch of Bridge Up Brewing. Who's Trent? I mean, I'm just assuming he's the owner or the founder, but like, you can't just throw a name out and then just be like, Trent and the launch. Trent could be the owner's kid. You gotta put this somewhere. I mean, I like the beer so far, but I'm liking it less and less as we go reading this. I don't even know how much more I can read. Guy's got a great beard though. I mean, from a dude who's growing a beard and trying to live with it, because there are days I want it gone. I want it but I just bought a new bottle of conditioner, so I can't really get rid of it now. But from a guy who's got a beard like this, I mean, I'm sorry, man. You gotta clean this shit up. Gotta clean this shit up. So never in his wildest dreams did Trent think he would be brewing beer for a living. Still, honestly, he might not be brewing. I don't know who Trent is. It started as a hobby and became somewhat of a passion. Again, does Trent work for Bridge Up Brewing? Does this guy, I know I'm being a little facetious here, but I mean, come on, facetious. Yeah, he brewed out of his garage like most people did, and started a brewery. And it's a pretty standard story. Wow, man loved hops, and then just turned that love, 23 years later, turned it into a company. It's like, whoa, it's so original, dude. And that's cool. I mean, props to the guy for starting a business and like doing it. It's just, we gotta find some pizzazz and how to pizzazz this stuff up here, folks. I mean, like, of course, you're in your wildest dreams, you didn't think you'd be brewing beer for a living. Of course, it started like in your garage. Where else would it start? Because you can brew it in your kitchen, I guess, but you kind of need you need a little bit more space. I mean, we did it in the kitchen, so it can be done. But I mean, this guy seemed like, I'm nitpicking too much here, folks. I know. But anyway, the absurdity keeps going. The next sentence is, beer has been somewhat of an evolutionary journey for him. It's for everybody. Nobody starts off drinking beer and it's just, that's how it is forever. I remember trying beer at 18 12, being like, this shit is disgusting. And then eventually you're just like, oh, but now I feel fucking awesome, so I'm just gonna keep doing this. But like, no one ever starts out and is like, oh. No, like 10-year-old, 15-year-old, they crack open their first beer and they go, oh, so refreshing. God damn, is that nice? No, it's like, it's so just obligatory. Like, it just applies to everybody. So like, to say like, oh, I'm a brewmaster, so my journey with beer, it was evolutionary. Bro, you could be an accountant and your journey with beer is evolutionary. Like, get off your fucking brew horse, man. Like, fucking just comb your beer out and fucking put some hops and some goddamn wort and make it taste good. Like, you're not a fucking scientist, man. Well, at least they put this. It began how it usually does. Thank you. I mean, I guess like it usually does. And I'm not gonna read too much more of this, but we've never done Bridge Up, so we got to give them the full 9 here. The full hold us accountable, motherfucking welcome into the stew. If you have a shitty website, this is the welcome to the stew you're gonna get. I'm sorry. It'd be even shittier if my buddies were here and joking around with me. So you're welcome. It's a little tame, Bridge Up. And also, this is only going to get like 3s and 3s of views. So I don't think Bridge Up is going to mind too much. Starts out how it usually does, with domestic lagers, out of hand pumped kegs, at college parties, in the parking lot of Lambeau Field. From there, it blossomed into trying and brewing various IPAs as he began working and traveling more. Alright, so I hate to put the stereotype, whatever. He just sounds like a rich kid who was like partying and then was just the kid in his friend group who could afford brewing equipment because his mommy and daddy were paying him, and he started brewing beer. And I could be way wrong. I don't know. Maybe he got zero money from his parents. That'd be cool. It's just what it seems like. He's basically, they say his love for beer started partying and fucking pouring kegs in Lambeau, which is great. I'm all about that. Drink, party, pour your keg, like pump your kegs at Lambeau Field, do keg stands, get fucked up, go in the games, root on the pack. Like, that's what I'm all about. But then I don't want to hear how you're like, oh, I'm just this, start from scratch guy who, rubbed a couple pennies together and made it work, and by the grace of God, some guy came into my brewery, tried a beer, loved it, and he gave me a grand that I really needed, otherwise I'd have closed my doors, and that from that grand I could buy a couple more hops and a couple more bags of grain, and I could, I started making a little bit more, and that would be. This doesn't seem like that. I don't know. And it only doesn't seem like that because if that is your beginning, if you have a tough beginning and you really tough it out, that's what you start with. You start saying that. You don't start by saying, I partied and was fucking tapping kegs and just loved drinking beer and then and then I just started brewing it. Like, that just is the definition of pointing out, like, I just love drinking beer, and then I was like, how can I just make this? How can I do this myself? Fuck the middleman. And you only say fuck the middleman if you have a fucking parent who knows how to teach you to say fuck the middleman. I'm just saying, like, all the clues are there, I'm just putting them together for, and his name's Trent. Come on, Trent. We've seen through this. You brew good beer, though, but let's just be upfront about it. Just put right on your website. Drink, I partied, and fuck the middleman. Shout out to Mom and Pop. If that was your website, if that was your Bout Bridge Up Brewing Company, it would be probably one of my favorite beers of all time. But it's not. It's good. It's good. Citra Pale Ale. It's not bad. Escarpment. I don't even think I mentioned that yet. What the beer I'm drinking? I'm sorry. I apologize. That's a bad job by me. And we're figuring out the solo soda as we go. So that's about Bridge Up Brewing Company. I'm not going to talk too much more about it. I've already made enough assumptions. Already made up enough lies about them. And we're going to talk about the beer itself. We're going to talk about Escarpment Citra Pale Ale. And according to their website, this is the #1 selling beer from Bridge Up Brewing. And I kind of see why. It's a very good, it's a good beer. It has a lot of good flavor, a lot of crispness, which I really like a crisp IPA. I don't like an IPA that kind of sits in your mouth and feels heavy going down. I like a lot of flavor, but then it almost feels like a light beer going down, which is hard to do, and this doesn't do a bad job. Also, not so bitter and hoppy going down. It's bitter and hoppy up front, and then light and crispy in the back, which this beer does a pretty good job of. I'm not gonna lie. So as much, bragging on the Bridge Up Brewing Company, Trent, shout out, you make a great Citra Pale Ale. Again, you're never gonna hear this, and no one you know will ever hear this. So it's just my take, and here we go. Let's read a little bit about Escarpment, the Citra Pale, the CP, Certified Public Accountant of the Brewing Company. The Niagara Escarpment is nearly 1,000-mile long. The Niagara Escarpment is a nearly 1,000-mile long slab of ancient dolomitic limestone that rests not so far below the soils of Door County. This extremely unique landform is home to over 240 distinctly rare, threatened or endangered plant and animal species. The Niagara Escarpment has challenged farmers, sunken ships, aided in Door County industry, affects our climate, and offers unrivaled beauty to all of us in Door County. Our Escarpment Citra Pale Ale is brewed to be as bold, unique, and beautiful as its namesake. And goddamn, I'll say, good job, Bridge Up. This is a good pale ale. It's good. Oh, that mom and pop startup money really did set you off well, The can, it's a good can. Can's alright. Can's fine. And again, I'm nitpicking here. Alright? I know I'm nitpicking. I know it. I'm a nitpicker. That's what I do. I nit and I pick. Fuck off. All the cans kind of have like an arrow theme, and within the arrow is different. Well, from the website, it looks like the same kind of topographical map with roads and river and shit. Door County, I'm assuming. But then it's just, so that's the same, and then it's just there's like 4 stripes going vertically up and down the can. And those are the only thing that's really different on each can. Everything is the exact same other than the name and the color of the stripe. So, personally, cans could be a little bit better. Alright? Like, throw a fucking wild-ass picture of the Escarpment up on your can, huh? I mean, come on, Trent. What, you need a couple more bucks from Mom and Pa to hire an artist? Then fucking do it, huh? I mean, come on, man. You have a great beer. Fucking put a great logo on it. Now, the logo is not bad, but when you put it on every single beer, it confuses things, alright? Now, I get it. Colors, they're different. But, I mean, let's look at these first two here that are right on the website. Knee-High Cream Ale and 1851 Zickellager. I mean, one's a light orange and one's a dark orange. I mean, they look the exact same. That's all I'm saying. That's all. Alright. I'm enjoying doing this thing solo a little too much here, folks. A little too much. I feel like I have my own talk radio show or something. I feel like fucking Duck Gottlieb or Dan Badger, you know what I mean? Pat McAfee, he's got all his guys around. Well, I suppose Dan Patrick has his guys with him too. But yeah, I feel like, you know, or like one of those over the night sports radio, talk radio show hosts, you know, from the midnight to 4 o'clock hour. That's kind of what I feel like right now. And I don't mind it. I don't mind it too much. Fuck, I might have to do the pods by myself. I don't know. I mean, shit, we got Carl. We got Carl setting up dinner dates the one day of the week that he does the podcast. He might be out of here. Shamo don't have a car and he lives in Denmark. He might be out of here. It might just be me going forward. I don't know, folks. But based on the way we're rolling, I mean, not well, don't get me wrong, but I'm not minding this too much. You know, again, I'm gonna get like zeros on zeros of views because it's just me. I don't know how to work social media. I don't know how to do any of that shit. So I'm not gonna be able to like advertise this or get this out there. Be like, yo, check out this podcast. And also, not that I gotta get off this. Too much ranting and raving going on here. We gotta stick to the topics at hand. We're doing beer of the week. Bridge Up Brewing Company's Escarpment Citra Pale Ale. It is a tasty, tasty beer, and we are gonna get into the. Wait, let me make sure I have the right button pushed here. Gee, motherfucker. Let me make sure I have the right button pressed here. So, for our fridge leftovers beer of the week segment, we're doing Bridge Up Brewing Company's Escarpment Citra Pale Ale. Let's get into the Poncho Honcho Big Old Big 4 Beer Scale. Yeah! All right. Now, with that being said, the Poncho Honcho Big Old Big 4 Beer Scale comprises of, and normally we throw this up on the screen so everyone can see, but my IT man Shamo is not here because he doesn't have a car. And so I'm going to do this. I'm not going to be able to throw it up on the screen. Just going to have to listen to what I'm saying here and trust that what my scores are true. Excuse me. All right, let's see. So the Poncho Honcho Big Old Big 4 Beer Scale comprises of 4 things. Big 4. Drinkability. Probability I drink another. Chuggability and affordability. Now, affordability is going to be tough with this one because this was a grab your own, make your own 6-pack from Ridgeview Liquors. Shout out Ridgeview Liquors. Any beer in the place, you can take one off and build your own 6-pack. So that's going to be a little tough. We'll probably just give it an average score, like 6.5 or something. But we'll get there. We'll get to that. Right now, we're on drinkability. Let's see how this goes down. After a few sips, really high score. This is a good taste. This is a tasty treat. Yeah, I mean that is a good beer, man. I'm bummed the other two stooges couldn't try it, but also at the same time, fuck them. Don't care that much. If you wanted to be here, they could have been here. Anyway, drinkability. Man, I'm gonna go 8.14 on that. 8.14. I mean, I think it's because the Citra Pale Ale is kind of throwing me off here, you know, like see, this is when that was when, like, you had the buddy, the crew with you could pick you up. I was looking at the equations on the old Big 4 Beer Scale, making sure they were all smooth. Anyway, all right. So probability I drink another. So I like to think of this like I'm sitting at a bar, got a big beer menu above the bar. Then they got another another big beer menu of just beers on tap. Tons of beers to choose from. And you just randomly pick this Bridge Up Brewing Company's Citra Pale Ale. What's the probability I would drink this beer again rather than taking a shot at a random beer that I might not be sure about? And god damn it, this is good. I'm gonna go, god damn it, it's high. High probability. I can get to it eventually. I'm gonna go 7.79. Alright, 7.79. That's not quite creeping up into the 8s, alright? Because again, if in this scenario, in my scenario here, got a lot of beer options. Got beers on tap. I got a beer list of just beers they have. So I got a lot of options. But with that being said, I think a 7.79 is pretty goddamn good, alright? So Bridge Up, get off my back. Lay off me, man, alright? I'll rate it how I want to, Trent. Let's see how we chug your beer, Trent. Now we're on to chuggability, and at this point in the show, I gotta chug this beer. I gotta be able to grade it fairly. I have to do it. It's not a beer you'd love to chug. I'm not gonna get you. I'm not gonna lie to you. Can't be all great scores. Because it does start off pretty bitter and hoppy up front, but it's aided by the light crispiness of the finish. So, with that being said, I'm gonna give this. Man, I don't. Because if I had to chug it, this wouldn't be a bad chugging IPA. Gun to my head, like you gotta pick an IPA to chug. It ain't too bad. Can't lie about that. So chuggability, I'm gonna go 7 point. Ooh, Walter Payton, 3-4. Alright. Okay, now we're on to affordability again. I'm not sure how this is gonna go, man. Let me see if I can find a price or something here. I don't know. I think it's pretty standard. I'm just gonna give it, we're gonna put into the equation, we're gonna put into the algorithm a 6.5. And we'll see what we get. All right, okay. This is probably a fair score. Probably I shouldn't say. Might be a little high. I don't know. I might just be giving it a little high scores, because I'm solo, trying to keep the energy up a little bit. I don't want to keep things down, but overall, 7.71 for this beer. This is weighted too. We weight it. We have a weighted beer scale here. So drinkability, we give more credit to that. That's probably why we're above the 7.5s here. I thought drinkability though, 8.14. That's a good score for drinkability, and even after second guessing and reconsidering, I would agree with that score. I'd agree with that. I'd go 8.14. And overall 7.71. Damn good beer. This is Bridge Up Brewing Company. What up, Trent? Shout out Trent on his Escarpment Citra Pale Ale. It is a damn good beer. Go get yourself one. Not so much a summer treat, but I could see it being enjoyed around a campfire late at night. Little chilly-ish, little nip in the air. Not much, but just a little bit, just enough. Just enough where the IPA kind of warms you up a little bit there and keeps you rolling, keeps you smooth. And that's it. That was episode 105. That was our beer of the week. Bridge Up Brewing Company's Escarpment Citra Ale. Man, it is a good treat. I've got it rated as a 7.71 on our Pancho Honcho Big 4 beer scale. That was the beer of the week, y'all. Woo, turn that shit up, Max, you idiot! Damn it!
I love
Fucked it up.
Beer of the week.
Beer is good.
Put it in my belly. Yeah,
I love beer.
Beer is good.
I love beer. All
Beer of the week.
Beer of the week. Beer of the week. Yeah. Beer of the week. Beer of the week.
This is gonna get
Oh, wait. Oh, that was actually kind of good.
tens and tens of views.
Yeah, this is going to get 10. Oh, no, we're not doing that. Carl ain't here. Can't do that one. All right, Andy told me to turn that background music down. Thanks, Andy. My bad if that was a little loud, y'all. Andy, you're here. All right, sorry, I haven't had Twitch up, so I haven't been seeing any of the comment. Oh, Shamo, hey, you commented as well. What up? All right. We're rolling. We're off and rolling. Andy, thank you for the info on telling me to turn that background music down. Apologies to anyone listening if that was a little too loud. I had no idea because I'm an idiot. And that's okay. We're learning. We're figuring this shit out little by little. And hey, with that being said, oh damn, I don't have the... Let's see if I can find it quick. Shit. Always fucking shit up. We got to get into a little Packer talk here. We're not going to do much because I'm not trying to oversaturate things with Packer talk, but let's see here. What was the oh yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to remember what Carl always has for his what? Oh. I can't type. Go Pack, go, not go Pack. All right, here we go. Let's see if this is... I have no idea what's going to play right now. No clue at all. So, let's see what happens.
What would I give?
Oh, not that. God damn it.
A few moments.
Go Pack, go!
Go, Pack, go!
Yeah. One more. Here we go.
Go, Pack, go!
That's it. All right, let's get into some Packer talk. Let's see. Well, you know what? God damn it. Oh, what's going on? Shut the fuck up right now. All right. All right, 1 second here, folks. I gotta turn a little bit of music back on. I'll be right back, and then we'll get into some Packer talk. What's up? What's this all about? Sorry, didn't mean to talk. I need to shut the fuck. STFY. I don't know what the... I need to stay the fuck Packer Talk. Let me turn this background music back down. Probably still a little too loud. Yeah, alright, so Packer Talk time. Let me played the music a little too early. Shit. Man, I'm bad at this, man. Alright, let me do this one more time. Jumped the gun the last time. Jumped the gun, but hopefully we won't. It'll be a little bit more smooth. Let's see. What's this one? Alright, we're gonna just hold on. Oh yeah, now we're talking. Now we're talking. Stop it right there. Packer Talk, y'all. We're going to get into it here. All right. And I got, we talked about it a little bit when it was going down. And it came back up in the news recently. The Aaron Rodgers trade to the New York Jets and kind of how it went down. And there was a big article on, Sports Illustrated on the Monday Morning Quarterback, written by Albert Breer. It kind of goes in depth into how this trade went down. And I haven't read this all the way through. I've read some, but we're going to read a little bit. I'm going to read a little bit here, and we're just going to kind of talk about how this all went down. Seemingly how it actually went down. Not like, oh, Rodgers said this, and then Gutekunst said this, and then... neither story lines up, but this is apparently how shit went down. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna get into it because that's kind of what that's all that's really going on in Packer news. We talked about the draft. Not gonna be too much Packer talk, I don't think, unless something crazy happens. Kind of like this article came out of like diving in deep into how the Rodgers trade actually went down. But I think we talked about the draft. I'm not gonna sit here and break down how rookie minicamp went with only rookies and them learning the basics of a playbook. Like, we're not gonna talk about that. We're not gonna talk about stuff for a little bit. Really get in depth. But unless something like this comes up, so let's get into it. Let's talk the ayahuasca man himself, the man on a darkness journey, and let's see what happened here. It was well after midnight and into the wee hours of March 13th in suburban New Jersey when Jets GM Joe Douglas saw agent David Dunn's number flash on his phone. The free agent tampering period was set to begin in a matter of hours at noon Monday. Pro Day season was underway too, but there was nothing more important in the moment for Douglas or for the Jets than answering the call. Hey man, quotes, hey man, I know it's late out there, said Dunn, calling on behalf of his star client. Quote, Aaron wants to be a Jet, unquote. All right, so right there, that's March 13th. March 13th, Rodgers said he wanted to be a Jet. Seemingly, actually, probably before March 13th, because his agent told the Jets he wanted to be a Jet. So, that was Monday. And Rodgers went on the 15th or the 16th. So, here's what it is there. I don't know. I don't have all the dates and timestamps in front of me of this, so I'm not going to be a historian on this by any means. All or have everything just pulled out of my head, but we're going to read through it, or I'm going to read through it and just comment as we go, because it's just interesting how his agent told the Jets he wanted to be a Jet. I don't know. I haven't heard that yet. It's only interesting because I haven't heard or seen that yet. I have no other comment or like, whoa, that's crazy. It's just, I haven't heard that. That's interesting. The article goes on to say Aaron, of course, was Aaron Rodgers, and Douglas's reaction was like Jonah Hill's portrayal in Moneyball of analytics legend Paul DePodesta, renamed Peter Brandt in the movie, finalizing the Ricardo Rincon deal crossed with Leonardo DiCaprio's Jordan Belfort closing a sale in The Wolf of Wall Street. Whew, it was a little wordy there, Albert. Yes, the Jets GM wanted to scream an exhalation, but his kids and wife were sleeping, so all the fist pumps and skipping around the room had to happen in silence. And happen they did. Douglas's first texted coach Robert Saleh and team president Jaime Elia. Jaime, bet you he didn't get made fun of as a kid, to let them know in all caps that they were going to wake up to the best news they'd ever gotten. Douglas then poured himself a glass of Blanton's single barrel bourbon whiskey on the rocks. Probably a good one. Blanton's single barrel whiskey. Yeah, that's the whiskey you drink after the old gunslinger wants to come play for you. All right, and he turned on the TV. He couldn't get to sleep until 3 a.m., his mind racing through all that would come in the aftermath of Dunn's simple message. Most of all, though, he thought, no one on the fucking planet knows what's going on here. Yeah. I mean, that's what happens when you're the GM of an NFL team. You think a Joe Schmo down the block knows what the fuck you know? Who is this guy? Dunn? What's this guy's name again? Oh, wait. Dunn's number. Wait, what? Oh, in the aftermath of Dunn's I'm so dumb. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sitting here making fun of people, and I'm an idiot myself. But I already knew that, so I'm going to keep making fun of people. I don't care. Joe Douglas is stupid. What Douglas knew at that point was that Rodgers would be a Jet. It had sink in for Saleh fewer than 72 hours later when the coach watched from Douglas's office as Rodgers delivered the news they'd already gotten to the masses on the Pat McAfee show. Since Friday, Rodgers said, I made it clear that my intention was to play, and my intention was to play for the New York Jets. Man, this article can start picking up anytime soon here. All right. What remained was actually exciting. What remained was actually executing the trade, and the process of doing that for both teams was underway as well. If, as it turned out, only in its, nascent stages. Albert, too big of a word, man. I'm too dumb. I don't know what that is. Through the 6 weeks to follow, there were ups and downs and fits and starts. It says and fits and starts. It don't make no sense to me either. And a lot of speculation on whether the deal would in fact get done. And lots of questions from the outside about how the biggest news story of the NFL offseason would find its conclusion, and whether, based on the lag time, it could all fall apart. The truth was, for Douglas and Saleh, there was never any doubt, or really any choice. They had to get it done, and indeed, 42 hours after Douglas danced silently around his house in nothing but whitey-tighties and lipstick, and celebrated with that pricey glass of bourbon, it did get done. The story of the Rodgers trade goes back further than January 8th, but it was on that Sunday that the wheels started turning, with the season for both teams ending in crash landings. That afternoon, the Jets lost their 6th consecutive game to finish what was once a promising season at 5-2, 6-3, and 7-4, at 7-10, and with a mess at quarterback looming as the culprit for the collapse. A few hours later, the Packers, their chips pushed into the middle of the table on an aging veteran core, lost a 20-16 heartbreaker to the Lions, a defeat that snapped a 4-game winning streak and kept the Green Bay Packers out of the playoffs for the first time in Matt LaFleur's 4 seasons as coach. It truly was a devastating day. Coming out of it, mandates for both Douglas and the Packers GM Brian Gutekunst were clear. The former had to find a quarterback. The latter would have to make a decision about whether to continue on the aggressive win-now path that his incumbent quarterback helped carve. And that was reflected in the exit meetings the team had with their prospective QBs. The Jets told 2021's number 2 overall pick, Zach Wilson, they'd explore adding an experienced veteran at his position. Wilson accepted it at first and would be excited later when finding out his idol would be the vet. So I guess Zach Wilson or Aaron Rodgers. Meanwhile, in a couple of days after their year fizzled out with that Week 18 loss, the Packers reviewed the season with Rodgers, and Rodgers told them he wanted some time to mull over his future. With his 40, so let me read that again. So as the Jets are going through their end of the year meetings, they talk with Wilson and they tell Zach Wilson, "Hey, buddy, little guy, little blonde hair fella, little cutie pie, look at you with those cheeks. Just want to pinch those cheeks. We're gonna find a vet in here to come in here and actually know who knows how to throw a goddamn football, and then maybe you can learn a couple things. We know how you can throw it, but you don't know how to throw it well." Now, with the Packers meetings, they talk with Rodgers, and they kind of say, this wasn't the greatest year. What are you thinking? Are you going to come back with vigor? Are you going to come back ready to go? Are you going to come back ready to help these young guys really learn this offense? Are you going to be the veteran that we expected you to be this past year, but you weren't? Are you going to be that this year for us? And he said, let me take some time to mull it over. Let me think about my future. I got my 40th birthday coming up in less than a year away. Let me think about it. All right, so that's where we're at. I need a sip of a cold beverage. From there, Green Bay's brass went into personnel meetings to assess the roster and set out a plan for 2023. After 2 years of mortgaging contracts to keep the team together and pursue a second Lombardi trophy with Rodgers, the Packers were over-leveraged on the salary cap. And unlike the 2 seasons before, back-to-back 13-win campaigns, they finished the regular season in the middle of the NFL, not at the top of it. With big overarching questions looming. Should we be turning over the roster? Should we be letting our young players play? Everyone in the room knew the bigger implications of making such decisions. Whether it was said explicitly or not, the players they were talking about, guys like receiver Randall Cobb and tight ends Robert Tonyan and Mercedes Lewis, were players Rodgers was closest to, and guys Rodgers would like having around. Guys he felt enhanced his performance simply by having him in the right place mentally, which meant that saying goodbye to those players could mean saying goodbye to Rodgers too. Okay, so right here, this paragraph is saying we had veterans on the team who Rodgers loved, who Rodgers got along with, who Rodgers knew come game day they were going to be on the same mental page as him. But what they have in experience and years under their belt, they lack in kind of athleticism and explosiveness, and that the thing you need to make an offense really tick. So do you get rid of the veterans and kind of get these young guys who have the explosive capabilities but might not be all there mentally, who might be off, not on the same page perfectly with their quarterback? Or do you keep these veterans, keep the veteran quarterback, keep these quote-unquote cohesion together, but then the young guys don't get a chance to learn and grow? They're kind of just, you have to try to learn on the bench, which is almost, that's pretty damn hard to do. Rodgers did it, but no one else really has ever been able to. Anyway, so do you do that? That's what that's saying. Keep the old veterans who know what Rodgers likes and keep Rodgers, or do you go with some new guys, and with going with some new young guys, Rodgers might not want to be there? So, with that being said, and making the prospect of that even more real was the progress that Rodgers understudies 2020 first rounder Jordan Love was making. Green Bay's previous doubts about Love had slowly been melting away. They were impressed by how he handled starting against the Chiefs in 2021. They loved how he was able to jump in on 2 days' notice, handle an unexpected barrage of 0 blitzes from Kansas City, endure the physical beating it led to, and keep his head about him through a resulting rough start to that game. He'd made progress with his pre-snap and post-snap command in camp in 2022, and with having his eyes in the right places too, and ascend with 6 weeks of first-team practice reps while Rodgers managed a broken thumb in the fall, that gave the Packers a viable alternative and flexibility as a result. As a result, as Gutekunst went to relay their objective to Rodgers to clean up the cap and get younger in the 2023, a plan he figured the 18-year veteran might not want to be a part of. The problem from there was getting time with the quarterback. All right, so this is setting the stage to say the Packers were reviewing the roster. They were like, shit. Or they didn't say shit. They were probably like, all right, this is how it's going to go. We can stay old and unathletic, but damn it, they know football, and we still have Rodgers, so technically our Super Bowl window is still open because we have Rodgers. So we can go Rodgers, old and unathletic, but mentally sharp. Or do we go young and new, learn on the job, throw them in the fire, and let's see if we can build something with this young core? And they're like, there's pros and cons to both. There really is. With Rodgers, it just takes a little bit of that, a little bit of spark, a little bit of magic from one guy that steps up, and you go on a run. And man, who knows what could happen? And that's what we were hoping for these past three and a half years, but it never came to fruition. So at that point, it's like, okay, we've seen it. And Rodgers, we tried to keep Devontae, but he didn't want to go, or he didn't want to stay, and there's reasons why he didn't want to stay. That's a whole nother story for another day. The Rodgers story is right now. The Devontae thing is another time, but Devontae left, so now you're like, Rodgers like, all right, what do we got here, and what do we do? And the Packers are like, look, do we want to keep Rodgers here? He's not really working with their young guys, and that's the dilemma they're in right now. So let's see. The two set up a Wednesday, and then going into that, the Packers are like, all right, now we need to talk to Aaron about this. We need to try to get a hold of him, talk to him. What's going on? And we'll tell him where our head's at, and where our head is at in terms of, all right, we got two options here. We can go the veteran route, we can go the young route. We want to go the young route, but we don't think you want to do that. So what do you want to do? And the two set up a Wednesday meeting in Los Angeles in late January while Gutekunst was in town for the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl. That one didn't happen. All right, so that meeting that was set up in January did not happen. Gutekunst had to go to Las Vegas the next day for the East-West Shrine Bowl, and the idea that he could return from there to California to meet Rodgers was broached. But that didn't happen either, making the exit meeting the last time they talked. Okay, so a whole lot of no talkie for the guy who throwy the football. Meanwhile, just before Meanwhile, just before then, Gutekunst quietly started to gauge interest in Rodgers from people he trusted with other teams. Careful both in whom he talked to and how he phrased the question. It went something like this. So, presumably this is Gutekunst's message to these trusted people in other teams he sent out. So, the message went something like this. I don't know if he's going to play or retire, or play with us or someone else. But just so I know, if he wants to move on, would you be interested? Oh, Jesus. I mean, Goody's sending a message like an average fan would send a message, and he's sending these to... Oh, I love it. I love that this guy's our GM. That's scary, let me tell you what. My God. I don't know if he's going to play or retire, or play with us or someone else. But just so I know, if he wants to move on, would you be interested? I mean, that's a message I've sent to my buddy. That's a message I've sent to my buddy, 100 times over my college career. Hey, I'm not sure if we're gonna go to this next party, or if we're even gonna party, or if we're gonna go party somewhere else. But hey, you wanna. What do you think? You trying to party tonight? Or that's a text I've sent to like a girl like hundreds of times over college. Like, hey, what are you up to tonight? I don't know if you're trying to party or if you're not trying to party, or if you want to come over, if you don't want to come over. But if you want to come over later, like, are you interested? But like, I'm not necessarily interested in you coming over. But if you are interested, I might be interested in it. Like, that's where we're at with the NFL, huh? That's where we're at. GM sending texts like that. That's great. This is great. Really, really great. I'm really coming away more, enthused and more, impressed, more, validated in what I've thought about the NFL for years. Let's see. So Douglas, at that point in January, was the one person to raise his hand and say yes. Holy shit. So only the Jets were like, yeah, we'd be interested in it. And we still got that from the Jets. God, they're dumb. The Jets had been through their own meetings. Saleh, in person and over Zoom, had interviewed 22 candidates for his offensive coordinator spot. And once that was done, had the coaches study all the free agent or potentially available quarterbacks, with Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Ryan Tannehill atop the list. And the revamped Gem staff having connections to all three of them. So the Jets' new offensive staff had connections to Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Ryan Tannehill. So those were the three guys they were looking at. Of course, perhaps the strongest connection of all would be a quarterback at whom Douglas and personnel side lieutenants Rex Hogan, Chad Alexander, and Greg Naismith at first took only a curious look. They'd actually hatched the plan to pursue a vet and started studying the others right after the Jets were eliminated from the playoffs on January 1st. Okay, so I gotta sift through some of this. The quarterbacks are looking for, or the Jets are looking for a veteran quarterback. Saleh hired former Broncos coach Nathaniel Hackett, and he coached Rodgers, and of course they got close. Hackett's hire was made on the coach's merit, not on the fact that he knew Rodgers. And then, so yeah, but still, I mean, it definitely helps that that Hackett was a good close friend of Rodgers. So now, with Rodgers deliberating and contemplating his future during his famed darkness retreat, Douglas and Gutekunst started the feeling out process on the parameters of a trade. All right, so now we're to the trade. So Rodgers has kind of hinted, he said he wants to play for the Jets. The Packers were like, hey, we're not sure, blah, blah, blah. And now the Jets, Packers, Packers reached out to a few teams. The Jets were the only team to get back to the Packers. The only team to get back to Gutekunst's booty call text. And let's see. So Douglas and Gutekunst started the feeling out process on the parameters of a trade, with discussions picking up at the Combine in Indianapolis. If anything was clear, it was that there was work to be done. The Packers initially wanted a return in the neighborhood of what Detroit got for Matthew Stafford in 2021. 2 firsts and a third. The Jets didn't want to give up a single first-round pick, let alone 2. Given that they had no assurances Rodgers would play more than a year, and both organizations were led by men, Jets owner Woody Johnson and Packers president Mark Murphy, who were part of and marked by the last blockbuster quarterback deal made between these two franchises. Man, just straight up reading is exhausting. I don't know why. This is ridiculous. I thought this would be a lot smoother. But it ain't. That's all right. We're in it, though. We're already a little more than halfway, so we're just going to finish this fucker out, all right? So, let's see. So these two guys, Mark Murphy and the president and the owner, Woody Johnson, were both involved in the Favre deal, all right? So both, to be fair, had reason to feel spurned by the 2008 Brett Favre transaction. The Packers, in that one, acquired a pick heavy on conditions. Favre hit a playtime marker to take it from a 4th-round pick to a 3rd, but a late-season injury kept Green Bay from getting a 2nd. The Jets would have had to make the playoffs to trigger that. Or first, they would have needed to make the Super Bowl. So to get a 1st-round pick, they would have had to make the Super Bowl with Favre. To get a 2nd-round pick, they would have had to make the playoffs. But he hit an incentive bonus before getting hurt, so we still got a 3rd-round pick for Favre. But still, I mean, a 3rd-round pick for Brett Favre is kind of bullshit. Also, they put in a provision that the Jets would send Green Bay 3 number 1 picks if Favre was traded to the Vikings. Oh, okay. The Jets cut him, and Favre got to Minnesota anyway. I see. Okay. The Jets, man, so the Jets could have been like, hey, we're going to cut Favre and we know he's going to go to the Vikings. I mean, yeah, why would you trade him to the Vikings and give, I mean, it just seems messy. Just cut him, let him go where he wants. I get that from the Jets' point of view. But from the Packers' point of view, you kind of fucked yourself by saying if you trade him, you should have been like, if you cut him, I don't know, do something else. I mean, try to figure out a way to not let him go to the Vikings, but they basically did. The Jets, on the other side of it, got only a single year out of Favre and lost a year of a championship window for the rest of the roster because of the injury. That's true. They did have a good roster. I mean, Favre was playing really well, and the Jets were playing really well before he got hurt. So, I mean, that is kind of a wash trade there. I can't really lie. I can't knock or disagree or say anything. I mean, that's spot on, Albert. That's why you're fucking making millions of dollars, whatever you make. I don't know. I'm gonna shut up and keep reading. But none of that gave Rodgers any reason not to forge ahead. Failing to talk directly with Wait, did I skip something here? Nah, it just goes right to this. All right. But none of that gave Rodgers any reason not to forge ahead. Failing to talk directly with Rodgers, Gutekunst had begun to work directly with Dunn on the situation and communicated the Jets' interest, while emphasizing that if there was going to be a split, the Packers wanted to be cordial. Dunn agreed, and near the end of the Combine got back to Gutekunst with an answer. Rodgers wanted to be a Jet. Okay. So Gutekunst tried to get a hold of Rodgers, and this is according to this article. Failing to talk directly with Rodgers, Gutekunst had begun to work directly with Dunn on the situation. And Dunn is Rodgers' agent. So the guy directly connected to Rodgers, the guy who has Rodgers' back, the guy who Rodgers should trust more than most people. So Gutekunst couldn't get a hold of Rodgers, so he started talking with Dunn. Why the fuck didn't Dunn say, or Gutekunst say to Dunn, or how did it not get portrayed that Gutekunst wanted to talk to Rodgers? This is where the shit just don't make sense. With all the bullshit about we tried to get a hold of him and he didn't get a hold of us, Rodgers. I only do FaceTime. I have no Wi-Fi. Rodgers, you have people you're connected to who those people are connected who don't just do FaceTime, okay? So I just don't that don't fly with me with the whole Rodgers, like, I'm fortunate to live in a house that's huge and doesn't have great cell service because of how fucking massive it is. So if you want to talk to me, you got to talk to me on Wi-Fi, and that's with the FaceTime. Like, Rodgers, dude, your agent, the guy who you're connected to, was talking to Gutekunst, and I guarantee, like, how would that not get portrayed to you that Gutekunst wanted to talk to you, unless your agent is doing that? And if that case, then say it's your agent's fault. Don't say like, oh, I don't have cell service. Say like, my agent was talking with Gutekunst but didn't feel like that's the shit that is wild to me. Like you know this shit's gonna come out. You know we're gonna figure out who talked to who and when. And maybe it turns out the other way. Maybe whoever wrote this article has it flipped and they didn't get the best resources and they don't have the best insider information on who talked to who and what was talked about when and blah blah blah. But for right now, this is the most comprehensive article out there on the whole situation, so we have to go by what this article is saying. And this article is saying Gutekunst tried to talk to Rodgers but couldn't, so he reached out to his agent and was able to talk to his agent. So how does the agent not go to Rodgers and say, hey, Gutekunst is trying to talk to you, and Rodgers go, oh, I only do Wi-Fi. Tell him to FaceTime me. Or, okay, I'm here for a face. Like, this shit just don't make sense. And this is when I wish I had my fucking, the crew with me so we could really get into this. Because it's wild. Like we had a lot of shit. We had a lot of time and fucking, we had a lot of stupid conversations. Not just we here in the HUA stew, but nationally. I mean, people had the most ridiculous, wild conversations about this whole Rodgers trade and how it went down, and Rodgers is right and Packers are right and who's right, who's blah blah blah, pointing fingers, when if we just look at it for what this article is saying, I mean, Rodgers just kind of sounds like a spoiled little bitch, dude. Like, you have to talk to me on Wi-Fi, even though I know you're trying to... Like, that says, like, I know you're trying to talk to me. Because he can go back and say, well, yeah, like, our phones are... they have records of who called and when did they call and how they called. Exactly. He didn't pick up because these motherfuckers didn't use FaceTime. He saw that people were calling. He knew people were calling. But yet he said in his head, I'm going to be a stubborn fucking man, and I'm only going to pick up to a FaceTime. And that was his choice. And then he comes around and says, no one tried to FaceTime me. I can only do FaceTime. No. You only wanted to do FaceTime. You only wanted to do FaceTime. This whole thing of, like, I think people are starting to kind of come around to the Packers' point of view a little bit on things, and just like, okay, maybe like they had a reason for how they handled things and how they did things with Rodgers, because shit like this comes out. So Gutekunst never talked to Rodgers because Rodgers would only talk on FaceTime, and he's a little whiny bitch and could only communicate with his agent, Dunn, who informed Gutekunst that Rodgers wanted to be a Jet. Like, that's the thing. Rodgers couldn't even talk to couldn't even say the words to Gutekunst, I want to be a Jet. He couldn't even do it. He had to have his agent say that for him. What a baby, dude. What a little baby, man. Douglas got back to New Jersey from Indianapolis on March 5th. That night, Gutekunst called Douglas. It looks like Aaron wants to explore an opportunity with you guys, Gutekunst told Douglas. We're going to give you permission to talk to him. The Jets GM immediately called Saleh and Elhai, E-L-H-A-I, and the three agreed to meet that Monday morning, March 6th, to map out the rest. They'd heard Rodgers just left New York to go home to California, and they weren't going to ask him to fly back cross country, so they'd resolved to ask Rodgers whether they could come to him in California on March 7th. Rodgers agreed, and Elhai booked a private jet to take the Jets, him, Douglas, Saleh, and Hackett from the Morristown Airport to the Camarillo. Okay, again, why am I reading all this? Blah, 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 back and forth, back and forth. The plane carrying the contingent from the Jets, 150. Okay, so the Jets' plan going into the meeting was more or less not to have a plan. Arriving at Rodgers' place in the afternoon with the Santa Monica Mountains as the backdrop and a pristine beach setting below, all they wanted was for the quarterback to get to know them better. Douglas brought an iPad, so if Rodgers wanted to see the Jets' depth chart or cut-ups of his players, he could accommodate. You put that in your article, dude? We all just assume rich people bring iPads everywhere they go, so information can be properly dispersed. What? You're wasting my time, man! God damn it. When was just the summit? The idea that Rodgers wanted to play football. So they're trying to figure out if he wanted to play in 2023. They wanted to know how prepared he was knowing the Jets roster situation inside and out, and how he talked about teammates and coaches they discussed as a hypothetical plan. The other was that Rodgers' agent Dunn showed up with are we really putting this in the article? Showed up with takeout, which in a way encapsulated the informal nature of the whole thing. This is ridiculous. See, some of the shit in these articles are just... Alright, they left around 8. Like, he talks about what kind of food they got at the hotel they were at. They flew back. Okay, so the tricky part, after they flew back, after they met with Rodgers, the tricky part at that point for the Jets was balancing the strong desire to land Rodgers with the possibility that it wouldn't happen, and what that might mean with the other options likely to come off the table in the meantime. Accordingly, fewer than 24 hours after Douglas and Rodgers had their follow-up conversation, Carr signed with the Saints. The longtime Raider who visited the Jets in February and also had a strong connection to New York staff would have been the Jets' primary target if not for Rodgers. With Carr signed and the legal tampering window fast approaching, the stakes were raised. Then, Rodgers' agent Dunn's call came. The relationship between Saleh and LaFleur... Okay, so this is going to talk about Saleh and LaFleur. extends. So the head coach of Packers, Matt LaFleur, and the head coach of the Jets, Matt Saleh. I don't know. Is it Saleh? What's his first name? Shit. Mosa? I don't know. Mo Salah, that's a soccer player. Shit. Why can't I remember his first name? I don't know. Anyway. Salah. So they have a good relationship, and the two got to know each other as low-level assistants under Brian Kelly at Central Michigan in 2004. They hit it off quickly. LaFleur was the best man at Salah's wedding. They worked together again in Houston, and Salah worked with LaFleur's little brother Mike in San Francisco, then hired Mike as an offensive coordinator with the Jets. He'll be the Rams OC in So Salah Salah, LaFleur, sucky. 2 days after Dunn talked to Douglas, Salah, Douglas, LA, and PR chief Eric Gelfand convened in Douglas's office for Rodgers' appearances on the Pat McAfee show. And in the midst of a process that had its bumps, even that didn't go so smoothly. As McAfee went to break, the power went out in the Jets building. The short-term panic was first relieved with the lights coming back on and then replaced with the celebration as Rodgers made his announcement. So the Jets are in the fucking the New York Jets, all the biggest of the bigwigs are in the biggest of the bigwigs office, and then the power goes out during the biggest moment of the Jets franchise history in the last 50 years. The power goes out in their whole stadium, in the whole offices. Jesus Christ. And Rodgers wanted to go there. 4 guys in the office could hear faint claps from down the hall. After the power came back on. On the other end of the facility, the business side exploded in cheers. Douglas then went back to work, knowing he and Gutekunst had already taken steps toward a trade. With the Packers having moved off their insistence on the 13th pick being part of the deal, and the Jets having come off their stance that a first-round pick shouldn't be included, regardless of the year it came in. So they didn't want to give up a first-round pick ever. Not this year, not next year, not 2 years from now, not 3 years from now. No first-round picks in this deal for the Jets. But we got you there. The problem at that point was the Rodgers appearance on the McAfee show didn't do much to the Packers move any further than they already had. And for about a week after, things got quiet. In the days leading up to the owners' meeting, Douglas and Gutekunst reopened talks, with Douglas at the office in January and Gutekunst traveling to pro days. As talks intensified, the GMs talked more consistently. Their discussions at that point were centered on a 2-and-1 concept, where the Packers would get a second round in 2023 and at least a chance to get a first in 2024. Gutekunst retained that he wanted that first round to be a hard number 1 with no conditions, but offered to give the Jets back-end protection against the possibility with Rodgers retiring after the 23 season. So before the meetings, the Packers GM sent a list of 4 proposals to Douglas with a simple message: pick one. Each was centered on the Jets' 2024 first-rounder with no conditions attached to it. A couple proposed that the Packers send a second-rounder in 2025 back to the Jets if Rodgers didn't play for them in 2024. Douglas returned volley by asking for tweaks to each proposal, with his owner balking at the idea of sending that hard number 1 to Green Bay under any circumstance. Gutekunst responded that the list was sent to try to close a deal, not to open a new set of negotiations. So Gutekunst is like, all right, look, we all know you met with Rodgers. Rodgers said he wants to come play for you. You guys said you want him. Here's 4 trade proposals that we are cool with. Pick one of them. And they didn't like any of them. They wanted to change everything. And we were even willing to send back picks if and they didn't even go with that one? Well, there's got to be more to this story. That's wild. Like we proposed. The Packers proposed to send a second rounder in 2025 back to the Jets if Rodgers didn't play for them. That proposal was probably like, we want a 2023 first round pick, but if he doesn't play in 2024, we'll send you back a second. So I can see where the Jets would be like, no, we're not giving up a first regardless. We're not giving up a first and a second, and then if he doesn't play, we get a second back? No. But at the same time, I mean, bro, no other quarterback wants to go there, and only Rodgers wants to go there. Like, the Packers could keep him and just let him rot on their roster. That's kind of, I mean, it didn't matter at that point. Because we had our heels dug in. We didn't care. We wanted the draft capital, but we weren't going to give Rodgers up for nothing. All right, so back to the proposals. Still, the proposals and the response illustrated how close they were. Also, it was clear that, to some degree, the deal would have to go through the Johnsons, Gutekunst, Sands, and owner, and with Murphy's support, had no such entanglements. And so it made sense to both Douglas and Gutekunst that they discreetly connect in Phoenix at the meetings. Okay, so Gutekunst is like, okay, so everything's got to go through Johnson. I don't really have an owner. Murphy's supports me in what I do, so I'm not worried about that. But they got some shit over there they got to deal with, so let's meet secretly. This is like, the NFL's wild, man. It's just, and like the most idiot, like the most unnecessary ways. Like, it's just so unnecessary to be this, like, secretive and, we gotta meet secretly in the Phoenix and we gotta like, to trade a grown man, like, fucking weird, dude. It's just weird. But anyway, let's keep reading. The result was enough progress. So this is the secret meetings. They agreed on a secluded spot on the north end of the Baltimore resort. The result was enough progress that both GMs felt, leaving Arizona, like they were on the doorstep of a deal, to the point where it could be done by the end of that week, which led Gutekunst to send 2 more proposals to the Jets. Those were turned down. Jesus Christ. With the remaining issue being how the 2024 pick was dressed up. Again, things got quiet. The real deadline, the draft, was coming. While the Jets were willing to wait and go for as long as it took, they knew the Packers would be more difficult to deal with after the draft, when the idea of including a 2023 pick would be off the table. And they were right about that. Green Bay did view the draft as a real drop-dead date. So they're saying, like, look, we view the most valuable assets as the 2023 draft picks you, the Jets, have. That's what we want. If we do not get any of those assets, we will say, fuck it, and wait. And the Jets went, oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Okay, sure. Yeah, I get that. Because at that point, the Packers were kind of like, look, he's still on a roster. If we were gonna pay him this amount anyway, it's not gonna be pretty, but we can do it. We'll pay him his salary. He doesn't want to play here. We'll play love. We'll make it work. It'll be awkward. It'll be weird, but that's our problem. That's our problem. Your problem is you have no quarterback. Our problem is we have 2 quarterbacks, and your problem is you have none. So you can either come and meet us halfway, or we just won't meet half. We'll just stop walking. We're not even going to try to meet halfway. We're just going to stop. Still, even with the drops in communication, both GMs, with a relationship dating back to the turn of the century as old road scouts. Okay, so both GMs were road scouts back in the day. So they know each other. They weren't like, all right, they weren't mad. It wasn't like a fuck you, Brian, and a fuck you, Joe Douglas. It was like, all right, I know how you work. I know how I work. Like, we're going to get this done, but we're going to do it on our terms. So, on Friday, April 21st, Douglas reached out to a mutual friend and had that friend give Gutekunst a simple message. Let's get this done. What? So, Joe Douglas reached out to a mutual friend who reached out to Gutekunst, who said, let's get this done. Gutekunst got back to Douglas via text. The two traded messages, then Gutekunst called, and the sides worked through the weekend. Johnson, and by extension the Jets, so Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, really didn't want to give up a hard number one, and Gutekunst knew it. So Douglas said, instead of the Jets giving up a hard number one in 2024 and getting insurance in 2025 back, the sides should revisit melding the two ideas together and going back to getting the Jets insurance on the first round pick the Packers were insisting on. Okay. So he's like, hey, I know our owner does not want to give up that first round pick. He's insistent on not giving up that first round pick. I will give up a first round pick. I got no problem with giving up a first round pick for Rodgers, but I need to make it look like I'm not interested in giving up a first round pick for Rodgers. So the Jets had earlier proposed an NFC title game protection, meaning the pick could be no higher than 29th. So this is the first round pick the Packers are trying to get. The Jets are like, hey, in 2024, you can get a first round pick, but it can't be any higher, meaning it can't be any higher than the 29th. Then a divisional round, no higher than 25th, or playoff, no higher than 19th, to trigger moving the pick from the first round to the second. By this point, they were down to tying it to a combination of playtime and wins. So now they're trying to this just seems like so much posturing and so much bullshit for something they both knew what was going to happen. They both knew it was going to get to this point, but they just had to keep playing the game. Like, that's the bullshit of the NFL, is how long, like, I shouldn't even say the NFL. It's the bullshit of the media of pushing this shit so hard when both the Jets and the Packers knew, like, this is going to be a little while, but eventually we're going to come to the same, we both know where we're getting to. Right? Like, they both knew it. They knew it was coming. Let's see. But the Packers weren't budging. While they were willing to give the Jets injury insurance, they wouldn't move on the kind of performance insurance that left them shorthanded in the Favre trade 15 years earlier. So they're going, look, we don't want to deal with this playoff, divisional round, bullshit. Gutekunst wanted the playtime marker at 50%, and Douglas wanted it at 90%. Whoa. So, Gutekunst got what he got closer there. He only had to go up 15%. Douglas had to come down, what is that, 35%? No, 25%. Right? Yeah. Anyway, the two settled on 65%, and to get the Packers to agree to come off the hard first-round pick, the Jets agreed to switch spots in the first round this year, with Green Bay jumping from 15 to 13 and New York going down 2 slots, which equated to giving up a low third or high fourth round pick on the team's draft value charts. So what that is saying is, for the Packers, if in normal situations, the Packers on draft night were sitting there at 15 and they wanted to move up to 13 without any of this happening. They were just like, oh man, we got a player there's a guy who fell to 13 who we really want. Let's move up from 15 to 13 to go get that player. We would have to give up an extra third or fourth round or early fourth round pick to move up. So by the Packers swapping, they retained that value. They didn't have to give up any value to move up. Well, the Jets lost value because the Jets got nothing and moved back. Well, the Packers technically didn't give up the Packers gave up nothing technically other than, Rodgers, but we move up 2 spots, and then everything else that we got. So that's where that is. We gave up anyway. So both GMs were uncomfortable with it Monday morning. Gutekunst because he didn't get his hard first rounder. Douglas because conditions on the first rounder mandated only that Rodgers stay upright. But each guy knew how the other felt and knew the mutual discomfort was a sign that they'd reached a fair compromise. That's very true. They always say in a good fair deal, both sides feel like they're getting ripped off. That's a fair deal. One side is uncomfortable with it and goes, God, are we really going to get all the return that we're hoping for? If he just gets hurt, we're not going to get a first round pick. And the Jets are going, God, we have to give up if he plays well, we're going to give up a first round pick. We don't want to do this. So, I get, I feel like this. I see where this is coming from, honestly. Let's see. Too fair compromise. Douglas was in a draft meeting with his staff and Saleh in this one working with Saleh's. Oh, man, I read that really bad. My bad. All right, let's try that again. 3, 2, 1. Douglas was in a draft meeting with his staff and Saleh. In this one, working with Saleh's coordinators to set the Jets' final board. When Gutekunst called with the final proposal, Douglas said he was good with it and told Gutekunst he'd go to Johnson and get right back to him. Douglas called Johnson and, to start, told his boss that he wasn't all that satisfied with the conditions on the pick. With that established, he made his pitch. They're nowhere near what they first asked of us, Douglas explained, and ultimately it'll be good to get this done and get Aaron in the building with his teammates. Sensing finality, Johnson got excited and signed off. Douglas called Gutekunst. You've got a deal, he told him. Gutekunst told Douglas he'd send the trade papers, then walked back to the draft room, and knowing they still had to finish a contract adjustment with Rodgers, and Rodgers still had to pass a physical, told his scouting directors, John Eric Sullivan, Milt Hendrickson, and John Wojciechowski, if we can get these other parts, I think we have a deal. At which point, the group took a second, then got back to get their final look at the draft class's cornerbacks. It was weird. Meanwhile, Douglas re-entered his draft room in Jersey with a grin on his face and flashed a thumbs up. The room exploded in applause. We got our quarterback, Douglas told them. Whew, we're almost done here, folks. Almost done. Just last paragraph here. Once the trade papers came, Douglas pulled his cell phone out of his pocket and took a picture, thinking about how wild it was, what the documents in front of him meant, and then he called Rodgers. Hey, bud, it's done. Douglas said you're a Jet. Figuring it would take until the first night of the draft to be traded, the revised contract would have to sit for a day by rule, meaning it'd have to be done a day ahead of the second round. Rodgers reacted with a mild level of disbelief. Really? Of course, 6 weeks earlier, Douglas, Rodgers, and their teams knew this would be the conclusion. Still, in the interim, Douglas kept reminding himself of how his bid for Tyreek Hill a year earlier fell through, despite the Jets' best efforts, because Hill decided he'd rather be a Dolphin. And he knew letting things linger past the draft would put a similar result, or if for different reasons, in play. So there'd be no victory lap until he got those trade papers in his hands. Now, finally, he had them, which meant his next Blantons would go down smooth. And this time, he wouldn't have to be so quiet with his celebration. He could dance around the room in his tighty whities, exclaiming to the universe, I have traded for the ayahuasca man. Aaron Rodgers. What an article. Whew. There's a lot in there. Holy shit balls. That was crazy. I'm just going to let everyone let everyone, there's not really no one listening, watching, whatever. If you're watching, I'm gonna let you just gonna marinate on that for a second here. Gonna run to the bathroom. Gonna play some tunes. We'll be back and just wrap that article up. multiple sleepless nights of just, studying game film, writing up a game plan all night, getting it to his coaches, and then the next morning just, keep coaching, doing more shit or more research, more film work. Like, there's just so many people that are so dedicated to what they're doing when it comes to football and we all think we know what we're talking about here. Like when I get up here and I'm talking smack about Gutekunst, Joe Douglas, and these fucking guys. But I mean, these guys really do take it, put a lot on them, and then they put a lot of pressure on themselves for a game. And, as a fan, you gotta kind of appreciate it, but also remember, like, that's exactly what it is. It's a game that we love and that we're passionate about. But I mean, these are humans' lives, and humans, like, they're fucking humans, I guess. Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's weird to, like, read that story and, like, you can almost feel like all the shit that Gutekunst was doing on top of, like, trying to deal with Rodgers in this trade. Like, he's like trying to scout and do, he's flying here, he's flying there, he's all this crazy shit just to trade Rodgers and to deal with his ass. I don't know. Rodgers, I appreciate everything he did on the field, but everything he's done off the field is I mean, I don't know. It leaves a I mean, just in terms of like off the field, in terms of how he's held hostage the Packers and the fan base. And I say that because he knows what he's doing, and he knows that by saying I only talk to the GM of the team I play for via FaceTime, and I refuse to talk to him any other way, you know what you're doing at that. Like, you're not being like, oh, this is just how I live. Like, no, man. Like, you know what you're doing. Now, also, I do understand where Rodgers is coming from. The organization hasn't treated vets very well in the past, and he spoke out against that, and he's not the biggest fan of the front office and blah, blah, blah. So I get that there's the whatever feelings he's got. But at the same time, I feel like they've kind of bent over backwards for him. And again, this is from a fan's point of view. I have no idea what they've done or said to Rodgers or how they've treated him behind closed doors because we're not privy to that. But from everything else, as soon as Rodgers started bitching and moaning about how they treated the vets and how blah, 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 they didn't do Jordy right, they didn't do this right, they didn't treat this person right, what did they start doing? They started bending over backwards for Rodgers and started asking whatever he wanted, he got. For the most part. And yet, nothing was good. And yet, he still is like, no, you tried to audio call me, you son of a bitch. What the fuck's wrong with you? You know I'm only a FaceTime man. The fuck, dude? It's just frustrating to hear that grown men playing a game get butthurt that badly about that type of shit. And that's the part that, like, that's why Rodgers will probably never be seen ahead of Favre, because Favre always put the game ahead of him. He always just said, like, I quit because I can't play no more. I'm done. I just can't do it. And then he's like, fuck, I want to play. I just want to play, man. I want to play. I want to win. That's all I want to play. I want to win a Super Bowl. But Rodgers was always kind of like, yeah, I want to play, but not for you. Like, I'll play, but I want to play how I want to play. I want to play with the people I think I should be playing with. And I want to play my way. And if I'm not playing, now I'm playing my way, but it's still not good enough. I'm getting what I want. It's still not good enough. And now I just want to go somewhere else. Which I mean, that's fine. That's your decision. That's cool. But that's why I don't think anyone will probably, like, I don't think any person who grew up watching Favre play is going to put Favre behind Rodgers. I think from just like a physical tools, overall how you play the game, quarterback, like, yeah, sure, Rodgers is better, right? Like, he probably is. I mean, he's got one of the prettiest balls you've ever seen. You know, and then when he throws a football, he can throw a spot. Where's my slide? I need my lap board. Shit. That's probably a joke that went over people's heads anyway. Yeah, but you know, so I think that's why Rodgers will never be seen as, like, by people who watched Favre. Favre will be 1, Rodgers 2, because Favre was love of the game, man. He played for the love of the game, and you could see it when he played, and when he wasn't playing, you could tell he wanted to just play for the love of the game. But Rodgers feels like he plays for something else, and we don't really know, kind of don't know what that is. What is he really playing for? We don't know. That's what it feels like. I mean, for me, you know, take it for what it's worth. I'm just a fan who's watched the Packers for 31 years. Basically, all I know is Favre and Rodgers. That's it. Those are the only 2 quarterbacks I know. And no one needs to tell me, oh, you're so lucky, dude. Look how lucky you are. 2 straight. I know. What do you want me to do? You want me to just stop, be like, oh, you know what? I can't be a fan of the Packers anymore because I've just been too lucky. So I have to stop cheering for the Packers, and I have to go cheer for the Bears because, you know, the Bears have sucked for 30 years, and, you know, now they're going to be getting good where the Packers are gonna suck, you know, like, I don't get that. Don't tell me to. Anyway, that's another story for another day. Actually, we might have already talked about that story, honestly. But, well, yeah, so that's the Albert Breer article on how the Aaron Rodgers trade went down, and man, oh man, was that an article. Rodgers really, this was more from like, I mean, obviously, if you listen to that whole thing, like this was much more from the front office GM's point of view than it was Rodgers, which again I appreciate because it's kind of cross-referencing the two GMs, saying like, hey, he tried to reach out with him, couldn't get a hold of him, so he talked to the agent talked to the Jets, then the agent, then after the agent heard from the Jets, and then the agent talked to the Packers, and then the Packers called the Jets, and they're like, hey, you can, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's real, like, you can see it. You can, I mean, at least, if he's getting this from both GMs, I mean, I don't really know how Rodgers can come and say, like, oh, no, my agent never talked to me about the Packers were trying to get a hold of me. He never said that. It says it in the article. Like, the Packers tried, they couldn't, so they reached out to his agent. And then it goes on to say how the deal started rolling, like, after that. So, what I mean, as a fan, when he's on your team, you love him. When he's off your team, you hate him. And that's Rodgers. When he's on your team, you're like, it's everyone else's fault. Look at it. Look at him throw that ball. Look at that spiral. When he's off your team, you're like, this guy's kind of a jackass, huh? He's kind of a circle talking fucking like, I think it's cool that I always thought it was cool he did hallucinogens. I could tell right from the start, that first MVP season after he came off that shit season, and he was just talking about how much he loved his teammates and loved everyone and appreciated everyone and was just happy to this and was just connected, felt connected to the team. I was like, oh, dude, this guy did hallucinogens, man. That's how you feel after you do it. When you're an adult, like when you're an adult, you've never done it as a growing up. I'm assuming he never did it growing up because he never mentioned anything about it in the McAfee show. And maybe he did. I don't know. Maybe he did and I just forgot. But I'm pretty sure that was his first time doing hallucinogens, and I was like, oh shit, I can relate to that. I see exactly, I get exactly what he's saying. Like, you come out with a whole, you just feel like, whew, yeah, I'm living, and I'm here, right? You know, you feel very just like powerfully strong in who you are in your usually, I mean, if things go well, right? So shit. Pack talk, Rodgers talk. It was that was how the Rodgers trade went down between the GMs, and just, you know, what they went through dealing with Rodgers just to try to you know, get him, you know, to kind of play both sides, or not play both sides, but like, I'm having technical difficulties here. Oh boy, what's going on? Did my Wi-Fi go down? Shit balls. Oh, we're still going apparently. All right. So that was Packer talk. Just wanted to read that article on how the Rodgers trade went down and just kind of look into it. Because I hadn't really read that article a ton. Like I said, I kind of skimmed it, read a few things, but never really dove into it, and wanted to do it here on the show because I mean that's what we fucking do here on Old Accountable, and during Packer Talk we talk about Packers and kind of what's relevant. I can't imagine us doing a whole lot more Packer Talk. Maybe for another couple weeks here. We'll probably touch on it. Maybe we'll just do some slight updates here and there throughout the next couple weeks until I don't even know when camps and all that shit starts, like the voluntary OTAs I think are at the end of May, and mini camps are in July, and there's some other shit in June, but we won't really start talking about Packers until probably later in the summer, like really talk about it, how the roster's shaping out, and who's kind of battling for spots and all that, like, you know, kind of more like in-depth actual Packer talk. This is all just, this point in the offseason, everything is speculation. Like, oh, this wide receiver, he's going to be wide receiver 2. It's like, okay, based on just what you think, what the writer of that article thinks, like, that's fine, but there's no concrete, there's nothing like, oh, he was dominating in practice, so he got bumped up to first team. It's just like, I think he should be dominated. I think he will eventually dominate and will eventually be moved to first team. It's like, cool. You know, all those articles get us excited about the team and where they're going and what, you know, the progress of the team, but nothing is actually like what's actually happening with the team. So we will probably do some Packer talk more in depth later in the summer, or if anything crazy wild comes up that we need to talk about, like this Packer article here. But for now, that was episode 105, Packer Talk, man, and let's get out of here on that. Try that again. Shit, sorry, man, I'm bad at this. Fuck, restart. Yeah. Shit. Man, how have I been talking for this long? This is strange. But anyway, alright. So, that was a little bit of Packer Talk, man. Yeah. How can I, anyway. I wish I could get rid of these shit off the screen. Where's the IT guy when I need him? Shame-o, you son of a bitch. Anyway, so that was Packer Talk. Let's see. So let's end it here with a little bit of the challenge talk. Kind of touched on it at the very beginning of the show. We're doing our challenges. We're all kind of different. Shamo has been doing fitness, or that was what he wanted to do, was do a little bit more fitness. Carl was wanting to do some welding. I'm not sure how much. He's kind of same thing with Shamo. Not quite sure how much been getting into that, but that's what their challenges have been. And kind of same thing for me. My challenge was this audio production project that again just was the 4 recordings of the early history of the Green Bay Packers with my grandfather, and wanting to put all those 4 recordings, because they're all very similar, slightly different variations on, you know, each, but all slightly similar. So trying to compile all those into one recording and put, you know, like, have myself just recording like the not the breaks, but just the in-betweens, you know, all right, so we're going to talk about, you know, next, you know, one of the most important aspects of the Green Bay Packers organization was Curly Lambeau, and then like, and the reasons why he was so important to the Packers, and then cut to like my grandpa talking about Curly Lambeau for 15 minutes, you know, and then be like, and that, you know, and then after Curly Lambeau, one of the next most important pieces to the Green Bay Packers organization was the Green Bay Press Gazette, and then have my grandpa talk about it, and then cut to the segments of him talking about the Green Bay Press Gazette. So that's kind of like the instead of having 4 different recordings of all the same thing but said just at different ways, different times, just putting it all into one, figuring out which ones all mesh well together. And my goal was to have an outline done for this week, and I did. I got it done 5 minutes before I started recording, so technically I got it done, but now I'm realizing that the outline wasn't really the hard part. The hard part will be taking that outline and then going, all right, I want to talk about Curly Lambeau here. Okay, I've got 4 recordings. I've got 15 minutes of each recording of Curly Lambeau. Now, which recording do I use the Curly Lambeau info from? Excuse me. So, man, I thought that's kind of what I would be doing with the outline, but then as I was going through with the outline, I was like, oh no, this is much simpler than what I was thinking. And the hard part will really start now. So, well, the hardest part is going to be going through and cutting all the audio, right? I mean, that's going to be tricky to do that. But again, I mean, this is what I signed up for. This is what I wanted. This is what I got to do this. It's something that, like, if I don't do it at this point, like, I will not feel good about doing anything else. Like, I can't lie. I really want to get back and start doing stand-up comedy again. I really want to try that out, but I can't. I got to finish this project that I said I was going to start, and I got to finish it. And it's been nobody's fault but my own, just in terms of the delay in me finishing it. So that's another reason why it's like, no. Like, I can't just go off and start thinking about other things, other projects, other creative things that I want to do. I have to finish this. I have to see it through. So that's where I'm at. Just really, really wanting to make sure I get this done in a reasonable amount of time so I can move on with my just with these channels. Like, I gotta stop thinking about this, but it is something that, me and my grandpa took almost 4 hours of his time to sit down and record 4 different recording sessions, and he, just Packer history. So I want to, it's something that, I want to take pride in doing, and I want to do it right. So yeah, I don't want to half-ass. I don't want to say, I'll finish it, a couple months from now. I got it started, but now I want to go do stand. Like, no. Like, there's a principle to things, and I got to hold myself accountable to following through with that. So that's where I'm at. I'm dragging my feet like a 5th grader doing a book report, just waiting until like the very last second to do this. But I'm gonna get this done. So my next turning point, or not turning point, my next goal is to. So I've kind of got like I said, about 10 minutes before I started recording, I got a kind of rough outline done, and now I got to go through and put timestamps to that outline. Like, all right, you talked about Curly Lambeau, recording 1 at this time, and this time, recording 2, this time, so go through each spot of the outline and then put the times in for where that information's got to go. So, like I said, one whole, kind of section of this audio production is going to be dedicated to Press Gazette. So then go and how influential they were and crucial they were into starting and sustaining the Green Bay Packers for so long. So then it'll be, okay, recording 2, Press Gazette, 15 minutes and 43 seconds he started talking about the Press Gazette. We got to make sure to get that clipped in there. So it's going to be that, and then eventually it'll be, all right, which clips fit with which. Like, there is going to be a lot more to this than I originally thought, but it is something that I have to just carve the time out for. It's not like it's something that will just take time. It's not something that I can't do. It's not something that I'm going, for Carl, like if you don't have welding equipment, how are you going to weld? He might have to rethink a new challenge or a new skill he wants to learn and say, look, I thought I could learn welding, but like it's just not working out the way I thought because X, Y, and Z. And again, like I said at the beginning, that's cool. I mean, that's life. That's what happens. We try things and then we say, oh, damn, like I don't have the money to go buy welding shit. And my boss, who I thought had welding stuff, who would be here, just isn't here with his stuff to teach me. So it's like, what are you going to do? You can't force someone to do that. And you can't, and there's no like making someone feel bad either for that, because again, it's just life. It's just what the fuck happens. Like, you gotta say, dude, you tried, he did a little bit. Like, he came in, he showed us a video of him like trying, like putting a couple little simple welds down or something, and he tried, like, so there's that. So yeah, we'll get there, but I want to get that done, and I'm really trying to get it done because there's just other things like I want to do that are more. This is more tedious. This project is a more tedious project than like a creative project, and that's what I didn't realize going into it. I thought there would be a little bit more creativity to it, but what it really is a lot more of the repetitive, all right, I gotta just grab clips, make clips, and see how they fit. It's gonna be a lot of that, and that's just not something that I've done a lot of, or something that, like I said, it's just repetitive and tedious. But we'll get there. We'll figure it out, and it's coming. It's coming along. Got the outline done, so now it's just chugging along to the next step of looking at times and matching up times with segments in the outline. So we'll get there, and hopefully be able to move on to some other fun things, and we'll keep her moving. So that was the challenge talk, I think, for this week. Not a ton to go off of, other than I got a rough outline done, and that's where I'm at. I don't know how the other two fucks are at because they ain't here. They are not here. Sons of bitches. So, yeah. Appreciate everyone who hung out with us and tuned in a little bit on Twitch. We got Brokish. Appreciate the follow and the interaction. Sorry I didn't see your comments right away. I was didn't have the stream pulled up. And shout out to the Velvet Assassin. Shout out to Seamus. Shout out to Andy. Man, we can't have Andy. We can't wait to get you back in the stew in a couple weeks. Get the quad back in the stew. That'll be great. Get you back in here. We'll get you rating beer, chugging beers. Man, it's gonna be a good time. What is that? Just a couple weeks, huh? Labor Day weekend, I think you'll be back in the stew. Yeah, so look out for that episode. That'll probably be like episode 107 or something maybe. So hell yeah, I can't wait to get you back in the stew, Andy. And man, episode 105, I solo Sode, man. I tried to do it all. I tried to do her. I think it went okay, and it was kind of fun. I wanted to try to maybe like incorporate doing some like fake ad reads, after coming back from going to the bathroom or something. Be like, this next portion is sponsored by blah blah. But that goddamn Aaron Rodgers to the Jets article took up so much more time than I originally thought. I thought I would fly through that a little quicker, but it is what it is, and what it is what it'll always be. Where's my laugh track? Where's my goddamn laugh track? It is what it is, and what it is what it'll always be. Goddamn right, motherfuckers. All right, that was episode 105. Thank you again for everyone who hung out with me this week on the solo Sode. It was fucking weird. I wish my guys were here with me, but we did it. We put out a Sode. It is Thursday, May 11th. This episode will probably be coming out Monday, May 15th. And we'll see you in the stew a week from now. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me this week. Said that about 800 times. Let me get the fuck out of here, because I am done with this shit. Yeah, episode 105 in the books. Shout out to all the motherfuckers who hung out with us this week. Shout out to all the motherfuckers who didn't hang out with us this week. Carl, where you at, motherfucker? Shamo, where you at, motherfucker? Take it out.
Woo! It's valuable. There's thousands of other podcasts that you could have settled for, but now you're just vibing with two goofy dudes from Wisconsin who like to discuss their problems and figure out ways to solve them, and challenge the listeners to get up out of their comfort zone. Try some shit they ain't done before. This is Hold Us Accountable. Yeah, this is Hold Us Accountable. Yeah, this is Hold Us Accountable. This is Hold Us Accountable. This is Hold Us Accountable. Hold Us Accountable. Hold Us Accountable.